Hey everybody, Zachary from Zachary Zoo Adventures. 2025 is coming to an end. I'm very surprised by how fast this year has gone, and 2026 is officially here. However, I'm not here to talk about 2026. I'm actually here to talk about all the stuff I accomplished in 2025. This is my year in review video for 2025. I always do my best to make a year in review video every year because I do love talking about all the different places I visited throughout the year. Sharing everything from all my adventures with you has been really great. This was a very fun year for me. I was very lucky. I got to go to so many different places this year. I got to go to a decent amount of zoos this year and several aquariums this year as well. I visited 13 states and also 6 new states. So far, I visited 42 states, and I'm very close to finishing up the 50 states. The only 2 states that I'm not sure about are Alaska and Hawaii, because Alaska is very far away and Hawaii is out on the ocean, so those 2 states I think I might have to fly to. I will eventually get to those states, but most likely in the future. This year I went along the West Coast and the East Coast, so I kind of went across from the West Coast of the US to the East Coast, so that's really cool because the West Side and East Side were the parts of the US I went to on my 2 major road trips. So I'm going to go through all the different places I went to on all my road trips, and then we'll go from there. So for my first road trip that I went on started in March. For this road trip, I went up towards the north part of Texas and also to the Texas Panhandle. This road trip was really fun. I believe I got to go to 4 different zoos on this road trip. So my first stop brought me to the Cameron Park Zoo. This is sort of a smaller or medium-sized zoo. It was really nice. They have a beautiful variety of animals. They got elephants there and even giraffes and rhinos. They have a beautiful variety of animals at the zoo. It was sort of a drizzly day when I was there, but it was still lots of fun. They had an amazing variety of animals. They even have a wonderful penguin habitat that's actually brand new. I can't remember when it opened, but I believe somewhere last year in 2024 is when the new penguin habitat opened. So that's really nice how the zoo's been adding new stuff. They were doing some construction work when I was there, because I remember they had some renovation work going on their lemur habitat, and so yeah, this was a fantastic zoo. I would highly recommend it if you're in this area, Texas. So it was really fantastic. Alright, so the next day after I was done with the Cameron Park Zoo, I then went further up north, and the next place I went to, I got to go to a place called Fossil Rim Wildlife Center. This is a drive-through safari. It is AZA accredited, so they have a really gorgeous pastures you get to drive through. They have a beautiful variety of animals there. This safari does have animal feeding where you get to feed the animals. You don't get to feed them by hand. You basically just throw the food out onto the ground and the animals would come get it. It was sort of a cold day, but luckily I was in my car for the most part, and I did have my sweater with me. This was a really wonderful safari, and there's lots of elevation changes as well. It was a super fun experience for me. Despite the cold weather, it was still very fun. They have an amazing variety of animals. They even had white rhinos. They got giraffes, and the giraffes and rhinos, I believe they are actually not free roaming like all the other animals, because they don't eat the kind of food that you feed them, because you actually do feed the animals pellets at this safari. But even though you do get to feed them pellets, that doesn't necessarily mean they rely on guests for food, because they are on a special diet and they are fed by the staff at the safari. So I love this place a lot, and they do have a nice little walk-through area that's sort of a break in the drive-through portion, because in the walking area you get to see their goats, and they do have a couple other animals there, and a nice little eatery there that they have, and an area where you can sit down. You get a very gorgeous view of the pastures because, like I said, there's lots of elevation changes, and this is sort of because this safari is in the Texas Hill Country, so that area was really fun. Seeing all the different hills and going up hills was really great. I really enjoy getting to see the animals here, and this safari also has cheetahs, but of course the cheetahs are not free roaming because that would be very dangerous. This place actually had probably the most amount of cheetahs I've ever seen at a drive-through safari, because I believe I got to see about 10 cheetahs there, so that was really fun. And the safari also does have guided tours, and they also do allow you to go in your own car, but in case if you don't want to go in your own car, they do have self-guided tours. I actually have been to this safari before, but it was several years ago, back when I was younger and before I had my YouTube channel, and I actually have been on their guided tours before because I do believe they have, I think, buses or trucks. I can't remember if they were buses or trucks, but I do know they have guided tours where you do get to feed the animals. But when I was there, I chose to go through the safari in my own car. So this was a very fun safari. I would highly recommend it if you are in this area of Texas because it's super fun. Alright, so the next day, on day 3 of my spring break mini road trip, after the drive-through safari, I went all the way up towards the Texas Panhandle. I have driven through the Texas Panhandle before, but I've never actually done anything before. So I went up towards Amarillo, and as I was in Amarillo, I went to the Amarillo Zoo. This is a smaller footprint zoo, but it was still a really fun day. The weather was really beautiful, and they actually just had about an inch of snow 2 days before I was at the zoo, because even though I was at the zoo during springtime, since this is up in the Panhandle, in the Texas Panhandle, where it gets usually in the north part of Texas, that area usually gets very cold, and it does snow in Amarillo. So about 2 days before I went to the zoo, they had about an inch of snow, but luckily when I was there, the weather was nice and warm, and all the snow had melted. And when I was going through the zoo, I actually saw some remnants of what was left from the little snowstorm they had. So anyway, this was a fantastic zoo. Some of the habitats there were empty, but I had lots of fun at this place. They had a beautiful variety of animals. I remember they had black bears there, and they even had bison. They do not have any of the other larger animals like elephants or giraffes or rhinos, but they still had the bison. That was a fun experience for me. So this zoo was really nice, and I'm very glad I got to check it out. On the 4th day of my road trip, this was probably my favorite attraction of the road trip. I visited the Fort Worth Zoo. Now, this zoo was basically the main focus of this road trip. It's a very awesome zoo. It is ACA accredited, which means this is a higher standard zoo, and they have guidelines to follow and rules in order to accommodate the animals. This zoo was super fun. This is the largest zoo in the state of Texas, so I would highly recommend you check this place out. The habitats at the zoo are super amazing. They had elephants there, because I do remember the elephants at the zoo had an amazing habitat for them, and they even had rhinos and even hippopotamus. So this zoo had all 3 of my favorite animals, because in case you're not in the know, elephants, rhinos, and hippos are my 3 favorite animals to see in zoos. So I enjoyed this place a lot. I even got to go on their train ride, which is really fun, because since this zoo is really large, they do have a train ride that takes you to the different parts of the zoo, because I believe there's 2 different stations, one that's by their Texas section of the zoo and the other one that's close to the front. Now, another cool thing I like about the zoo is their reptile building called the Mola. Now, the Mola, which is the building that has all their reptiles and amphibians amphibians. This was probably the largest reptile building I've ever been to at a zoo. It was so massive, and I think I was in there, I believe I was in there for about an hour, I think. I don't really know for sure because, like I said, this was back during the springtime earlier this year. This was such an amazing zoo. I was so blown away by the impressive habitats, and they also do have this really nice area called the Predators, which is the area they have all the different predators, and they even had a couple of the animals, birds there. That's basically the section they have all the predators from Africa and Asia. They got the tigers, and there's lions in that area, and I remember they had hyenas as well. That area of the zoo was probably my favorite section because it's the newest area of the zoo that I believe it opened about 2 years ago. So that's really nice how the zoo's been doing some fundraising, and they also are doing some renovation work because they are planning on adding a new rainforest section, because I don't remember what it's going to be called, but I do know it's going to be an area where they're going to have a new area for all the different animals that live in all the different rainforests. So that's really cool that the zoo has been doing some fundraising. That means they have a good funding source, because usually if a zoo is adding a new area, that's a sign showing that the community does care about their zoo. Because basically when you go to a zoo, your visit or your admission basically gives donation to the zoo, or sometimes even buying something at the gift shop helps support the zoo. I don't usually buy a lot of stuff at the gift shop, but lately this year at some of the zoos I went to, I actually have been collecting some souvenir cups at some of the zoos I went to. So anyway, this zoo was fantastic. I would most definitely recommend it if you're ever in the Fort Worth area of Texas, because this was a very fun zoo, and I'm so glad I got to check it out. So that was my mini road trip through North Texas and the Texas Panhandle. So a couple weeks after spring break, after my mini road trip was finished, I went to another drive-through safari. This one is called Wildlife Ranch Natural Bridge in San Antonio, Texas. I have been to this safari before a couple years ago, and this safari, just like Fossil Rim, it also does have animal feeding as well. But of course you do have to drop it on the ground and not feed it from your hand, because I actually have been to a couple drive-through safaris where you do get to feed the animals by hand, but I mostly prefer just dropping it on the ground so you don't have to get any animal slobber on your hands. This safari does have two different sections, because there's the drive-through portion and also there's the walk-through area. I did go through both areas, and the walk-through area was really cool. I remember in that area they had lemurs, and at the drive-through safari they do have giraffes. They actually have 3 different giraffe habitats, because there's the one by the walk-through portion, and the other one is by there's one that's downhill, because I remember this safari has a lot of elevation changes because it's up in the hills. So they got 3 giraffe habitats, and that's probably the most amount of giraffes I've ever seen at a drive-through safari. At the walk-through portion, which was really great, I remember they even had a little budgie aviary, and you do get to feed the budgies in this aviary, and this was the first time I got to feed a budgie. I remember getting to feed them. These birds are very popular in the pet trade, and people do keep these birds as pets, and they are social birds. So if you do get a pet budgie, I do recommend you get more than one, because they are social birds. This safari is AZA accredited, so the habitats were really, really impressive. I have been to a couple drive-through safaris and a couple zoos that were not AZA, but they were still very, very fun. I had lots of fun at the safari, and I would highly recommend it. Alright, so right after that, my first big road trip started on the second week of May. So this was kind of a late spring road trip. On this road trip, I went towards the southwest. I went to the far west side of Texas, New Mexico, Arizona, California, Nevada, and Utah. So this was a very fun road trip for me, and I think it was my favorite road trip of the year, going past all the mountains and throughout the desert. That was really, really fun. So I got on I-10 for this road trip, so I had a 10-hour drive to my first stop, which was to El Paso. So day one of my late spring road trip, I went to the El Paso Zoo. This is sort of a medium-sized zoo, but it's really, really gorgeous. I was so impressed with the design of it. They have a gorgeous variety of animals at the zoo, and I remember they had rhinos at the zoo, and because like I said, rhinos are my second favorite animal to see in zoos behind the elephants. The habitats of the zoo were super impressive. I'm really glad I got to check this place out. I think it is AZA accredited. I'm not 100% certain because I got to go to so many zoos this year. I don't really remember for sure if all of them were AZA or not, but regardless whether if they were AZA or not, they were still fun, because I remember El Paso Zoo was a very fun experience for me, because I know most zoos are usually on the far east side of Texas, but this zoo is actually the zoo that's actually in the most far west side of Texas. This was a fun zoo, and I would highly recommend it. Luckily, the weather was not too hot. It was nice and warm, because that's why I like to start going on my big road trips in May, because that's usually when the weather is really beautiful, and some kids are still in school, and it's usually not too crowded at some of the zoos. So this was a very fun zoo for me. Alright, so the next day after I was done with the El Paso Zoo, well, after the El Paso Zoo, I had about a 3-hour drive to my next stop, which was in New Mexico. So I actually got off I-10, and I cannot remember the name of the interstate that I took. So after that, I went up towards Albuquerque. This is up in the north side of New Mexico. I really enjoyed going through New Mexico. I actually have driven through New Mexico, but never had the chance to actually do anything there. So on day 2 of my spring road trip, I was in Albuquerque, like I said. So the reason why I was in Albuquerque is because they have this nice place called ABQ Biopark, and I believe ABQ stands for Albuquerque. I was there for 2 days because this really large park, ABQ Biopark, actually has a zoo, and they also have an aquarium there. So the first day I started off with the aquarium. This aquarium was really, really nice. It's sort of a smaller footprint aquarium, but it was really well worth the visit. They had otters at this aquarium. That was really, really fun. This is a mostly indoor aquarium, and I don't recall that they had anything that was outdoors. And they even have this really nice big tank for their sharks, and they had rays at this place. This was a very, very fun aquarium. For a smaller footprint aquarium, it was super beautiful, and I was really impressed with the design of it. This is actually right next to the botanical gardens, because the botanical gardens and the aquarium are actually right next to each other. So, because that way, in case if the aquarium is not worth your visit, then the ABQ Biopark Botanical Gardens is right next to it. But for me, the aquarium was very well worth the visit, and I don't remember if I went to the botanical gardens or not, but even if I did not film it for anyone, because I was there just for the aquarium and the zoo. Alright, so day 3 and also the second day in Albuquerque, after I did the aquarium at ABQ Biopark, I then went to the zoo. Now, this was a very, very large zoo. I believe it's about a 65-acre zoo. I can't remember if that's how big it is, but I do remember that this is a very decent-sized property. It is AZA accredited. This zoo was super beautiful. I was really impressed by the way it was designed. They had lots of walking at the zoo in a beautiful variety of animals here. They had elephants, I remember, and they got giraffes as well, and I remember they even had polar bears, which is really cool. This zoo also does have some renovation work going on, because I remember their reptile building was under construction, and they also are planning on adding a new Australia habitat that's going to be opening soon. I don't know when exactly it's going to be opening, but perhaps most likely in the far future, or possibly even next year. I don't know for sure, but I think that's when it's going to be opening, I assume. So if you are from the area of New Mexico or in Albuquerque, I do recommend you check their website, and this way you'll know when they're going to open that new area. So this zoo was super fun. I would highly recommend it if you're ever in Albuquerque, and it was super fun for me. Alright, so right after that, after I was done with Albuquerque, I had about a 6-hour drive to my next stop, which was in Arizona. So Interstate 25, that was the interstate I went on from El Paso to Albuquerque. It's also the interstate I went on when I was heading down towards Arizona. It was a long drive, but it was very well worth it. So day 4 of my spring road trip, that brought me to Tucson, and I got to go to the Reed Park Zoo. This is sort of a smaller or medium-sized zoo, but it was really, really fantastic. They had an incredible variety of animals there. They did have elephants. I remember they had African elephants, and the elephants at the zoo have an amazing habitat for them, and this is actually a brand new habitat for them, because they used to be in another habitat in the zoo, but that habitat was not suitable for them, and they had to be moved to a much brand newer habitat, because the habitat called Expedition Tanzania, that's the habitat that they're in, and I was super impressed by the habitat they were in, because as you know, I'm sure most of you know that a couple small zoos in the US have had to remove their elephants, because the African elephant is actually the type of elephant that requires more space than the Asian elephants, because depending on how many elephants they have to have a good enough amount of space for every single elephant they have. This zoo was really, really nice. It is AZA accredited, and the weather was really nice. Luckily, it was not too hot when I was there, since it was springtime, so I had lots of fun at this zoo. Alright, so on the same day after the Reed Park Zoo, I actually still had a little more time that day, so I went up all the way towards Phoenix, Arizona. And the first stop I did in Phoenix was the first of the 2 sea life aquariums on this road trip. This one I went to is located in the Arizona Mills. About 99% of the sea life aquariums I've been to are located inside a mall, but some of them I know are actually not in a mall, because I know there's the one sea life aquarium I went to, I believe it was actually located in, I don't remember where it was located, but I do remember it was not inside a mall, because it's been so long since I've been to that other sea life aquarium. So anyway, the one in Arizona I went to was really fantastic. All the sea life aquariums I've been to are slightly different from each other, but they don't use the exact same kind of design. Some of them even have the same exact animals, but this one, I do know most of them don't have almost not the exact same kind of fish, but of course they do have those big tanks that have their sharks, where we basically go through a little tunnel, or a shark tunnel as they would call it. So this aquarium did have a shark tunnel you can go through. All the tanks are super beautifully designed. I was really impressed by the design of this sea life aquarium, and it was super fantastic. So day 5 of my road trip, still in Phoenix, Arizona that day, and that brought me to the Phoenix Zoo. This is another really large zoo. This was such a fantastic zoo. It is a privately owned nonprofit zoo, and it's also the largest privately owned nonprofit zoo in the United States. It is 125 acres wide, so it's a very decent sized zoo. There's lots of walking, and they do have tram rides that take you through the different areas of the zoo, because since it's so large, I don't think there's going to be a lot of people that are going to want to walk through the whole way. But I did not go on the tram ride because I chose to walk through the whole zoo because it's really good exercise for me. The zoo is AZA accredited, so they had beautiful habitats. I was super impressed by the design of this place. It was so amazing. There is lots of backtracking at the zoo, so if you do come to the zoo, be prepared to walk. And it's also very important that you stay hydrated when you come to the zoo, especially during the summertime when it's going to be very, very hot. So luckily, since I was at the zoo during springtime, it was not too hot when I was there. Another cool area I love about the zoo is the Desert Lives Trail, because on that area it's basically a little dirt walking trail, and in that area you get to see their bighorn sheep. I also remember they had Arabian oryx at the zoo. That was really cool. The zoo does not have any elephants, but they still had 2 species of rhinos there, because I remember they got the Indian rhinoceros, and then there's the white rhinoceros. So that's cool how the zoo had 2 species of rhino. This zoo was really fantastic, and my favorite part about the zoo is probably the area called the Big Cats of Arizona. That's the newest area of the zoo that just opened very recently. It actually had just opened a month before I was at the zoo, because I was at the zoo on the 2nd week of May, and this area, Big Cats of Arizona, opened in April. So that's really cool how the zoo has a great funding source and the community cares about their local zoo. So that's why, if you do live in a community, always support your local zoo, just in case you want to see new habitats or new areas being renovated. Alright, so after the Phoenix Zoo, I had about a 5-hour drive, and I went all the way towards California, which was the next state. Now, California was basically the main state of this road trip. So day 6 of my spring road trip, I was in San Diego, and I went to the San Diego Zoo Safari Park. Now, this zoo was very, very fun. I love this place a lot. I have been to this zoo before, I think about 4 years ago, so I'm very glad I got to come back to this place. It was super fantastic. It is AZA accredited. All the habitats are super beautiful, and with the name Safari in its name, they do have private safari tours where it takes you onto the different pastures or different Serengeti habitats that has all the different animals of Africa. You get to see zebras, they got wildebeest and buffalo, and also giraffes, and they also do have an Africa tram ride that takes you past the Serengeti plains where you get to see all the different hoofstock or all the animals that I just mentioned. So I did get to go on the tram ride, but I did not have time for any of the private safari tours that they have. I actually have been on their private safari tours before, but that was a couple years ago from the last time I was there. I had so much fun at this place. The weather was super beautiful. They do have elephants at the zoo, and they actually are doing some renovation work on their elephant habitat. It's going to be called Elephant Valley. I'm not sure when it's going to open, but it looks like it's going to open very, very soon. But I still got to see the elephants because they were sort of in a temporary habitat. So that's nice how the zoo is going to make a new habitat for their elephants. And another cool thing I really like about this place is that it's actually the first zoo in America to have real live duck-billed platypuses. They got 2 of them. They got a male and a female. Because I'm sure most of the zoos in Australia have platypuses, but the San Diego Zoo Safari Park is the first zoo to have 2 platypuses outside of Australia. That was really, really cool. And what I like about the zoo is that they do have different different viewing points of the different savanna habitats, because I remember the view is so beautiful and it was super amazing, and I had so much fun at the zoo, and I would highly recommend it if you are in the area of San Diego. So day 7 of my road trip, I was still in San Diego that day, and then I went to the San Diego Zoo. Now, this is a very famous zoo. It's really massive. I'm really glad I was able to check this zoo out on my road trip when I was in California. This zoo is AZA accredited, and it is just very massive. They do have buses there that or shuttles, I think, that take you around to the different areas of the zoo, because that way, since in case you don't want to walk the whole way, they have the buses that'll take you to different areas of the zoo. But of course, I chose to walk through the whole zoo because, like I said, it's very good exercise for me. The weather was really beautiful. They had an incredible variety of animals, because I remember they had African elephants, and they actually did have giant pandas at the zoo, because pandas, as you know, are very heavily protected in China, and I think they are being loaned to the zoo, because I know a couple other zoos in the U.S. have had to send their pandas back to China, but at one point I think the San Diego Zoo actually had to send their pandas back to China, but luckily they managed to get them back, because giant pandas, like I said, are very heavily protected in China, and the zoo also has red pandas as well. And the zoo also has a sky safari that takes you from one area of the zoo to another. I did get to go on the sky safari. I do love going on the sky safaris at zoos because they're very relaxing, and they take you very high up, and you get to go to or see the animals from a very nice view. And this zoo is operated by a system, I think it's called the San Diego Wildlife Alliance, which is also the same company that operates the San Diego Zoo Safari Park. So the San Diego Zoo and the San Diego Zoo Safari Park are both affiliated with each other. They do work as a team. So even though the San Diego Zoo Safari Park is actually not located near San Diego, because the Safari Park is actually located, I think, about 30 or 40 miles north of San Diego in the suburbs, but it is still called San Diego. So the Safari Park and the zoo are both affiliated with each other, and if I had to pick between the two, I would say the zoo, but I actually do love both the San Diego Zoo Safari Park and the San Diego Zoo, as they are both one of my top zoos in the U.S., because I'm not the kind of guy that loves one thing or another, or a person who loves a cat over a dog or a dog over a cat. I'm an equal person, so I do love both the San Diego Zoo and the San Diego Zoo Safari Park, because they're both equally fantastic. So day 8 of my road trip, after I was done with San Diego, on the next day I actually went over to Legoland, California, and the reason I was there is that they have a sea life aquarium there. This was the second sea life aquarium of this road trip, and it's also the first one I've been to that's located at a Legoland resort. I did not go to the actual Legoland theme park because I was mostly just there to show you their sea life aquarium. And if you are doing the Sea Life Aquarium and the Legoland Park on the same day, you actually do have to pay a combo admission, but I only paid one admission just for the Sea Life Aquarium because that's the reason why I was here. So I really enjoyed this Sea Life Aquarium a lot. And what's really cool about this Sea Life Aquarium is it's actually the first Sea Life Aquarium I've been to that has an outdoor section, because I remember in that area they have a little touch pool there, because like I said, all of the different Sea Life Aquariums I've been to are slightly different from each other, and the tanks at this aquarium, at this Sea Life Aquarium, were so beautifully designed, and I was really impressed by it. So after the Sea Life Aquarium, I then went further up north, and on day 9, the next place I went to was a bonus attraction, because usually when I'm going on a road trip, I would give out an itinerary or a list of all the different places I went to. Usually about a month before I leave for my road trip is when I make an itinerary on where I'm going to go on that road trip. So I went to the Santa Barbara Zoo in Santa Barbara, California. This is sort of a smaller footprint zoo, but it is really, really impressive. They have a beautiful variety of animals. I remember they got 2 silverback gorillas there. They do not have elephants at the zoo, but it was still super fun. I was very glad I got to check this place out since it was not included into my original plans, and because like I said, since I was able to double up 2 of the other places on this road trip into a single day, I had time to squeeze this zoo into my plans. They had a train ride at the zoo, and I do love going on the train rides at zoos because they go past all the different animal habitats, and they sometimes give you a behind the scenes look at some of the areas of the zoo. What's really cool about the zoo is that the park that it's located in is actually right next to the ocean, because there are parts of the zoo where you actually get to see the Pacific Ocean. So this was a fun zoo. I think it is AZA. I'm pretty sure it is AZA, so because I remember all the habitats are super beautiful and they had a beautiful layout, so I would recommend this zoo if you are in the area of Santa Barbara. So after Santa Barbara, which was a really fun zoo, I went all the way up towards north, or about on a 3-hour drive towards Monterey. This is located about 100 miles south of San Francisco. I did not go to San Francisco on this road trip, but most likely in the future, and not sure when exactly, but anyway, on day 10 of my road trip, this was my favorite attraction of this road trip and my favorite place I went to in California. I went to the Monterey Bay Aquarium. Now, this place was basically the whole main reason for coming to California on this road trip. I've heard so many great things about it. It's such a fantastic aquarium, and it is my #1 favorite aquarium right now because it's just so beautiful. And this is actually the first aquarium that actually has successfully housed a great white shark, because I know most other aquariums that try to keep a great white shark, they are usually unsuccessful because great white sharks do not do well inside aquariums because they usually die within a year since they survive by traveling long distances. But the aquarium only had their great white shark for about 6 months, and it was eventually released out back into the wild. And another cool thing I like about this aquarium is that it is the first aquarium to have real live kelp. Other aquariums I've been to, they usually have plastic kelp, but this place has real live kelp because they have this really huge tank called Kelp Forest Overlook, and that tank is really, really beautiful, and at the top of the tank is outdoor, so the kelp actually grows by real live sunlight, which is super cool, which is nice how the kelp kind of goes swaying back and forth. That was super beautiful. I also was really impressed with this other area of the aquarium called Into the Deep, which has all the different deep sea critters, which I really enjoyed seeing. I got to see some animals there that I have never seen before at another aquarium. And another really cool thing that's cool about this aquarium, that it's actually right on the Monterey Bay, because outside they have this really beautiful area there where there's different outdoor viewing points that give you a gorgeous view of the Monterey Bay, and it was so beautiful because in the bay you actually do get to see wild sea otters, and I think there's also harbor seals. I remember I got to see several birds in that area as well, and even the aquarium also does have sea otters, so this is definitely a top aquarium for me, just for the reasons I explained to you, because it's got the real life kelp there, and the fact that I used to have a great white shark for 6 months. So I would highly recommend this aquarium if you are ever coming to the city of Monterey, because it's a fantastic place. So after that, I went down south for about 5 hours, and day 11 of my road trip, I was in Los Angeles that day, and I went to the Los Angeles Zoo. This is another decent sized property. It was super fantastic. I was impressed by the layout of the zoo, and it was so beautiful. This is another AZA facility. Now, my only complaint about the zoo is that some of the habitats I didn't really care about, because some of them were a little old school. They were not wire mesh, or they were not like the kind of old cagey like habitats they used during the past, but the habitats of the zoo, some of them I did not care about. But there are a couple habitats at the zoo that I actually was very impressed by. I was really impressed by the habitat they had for their elephants. The elephants at the zoo have a nice habitat, but the elephants at the zoo are no longer at the zoo, because like I said, a lot of zoos in the US have had to relocate their elephants to other facilities, because I think on the website it said they only had, I think, only 2 elephants at the zoo, but it was still a very, very fun zoo. And I know another habitat that I didn't really care much was the habitat for their greater one-horned rhino. Even though it had 3 different habitats to go into, one of them was under construction, and it did not seem like that the Indian rhino at the zoo had enough space for him, but I'm not going to let that ruin my day. I still had lots of fun at the zoo. I was impressed by the layout and the design of the zoo, so it was a very fantastic zoo, and I would recommend it just in case you are ever in the area of Los Angeles. So right after Los Angeles, I then went to my next state, which was Nevada. I drove for about 4 hours all the way towards Las Vegas. So day 12, this was my first time in Nevada, and the main reason why I went to Las Vegas is that I went to the Mandalay Bay Resort, and that brought me to the Shark Reef Aquarium. This aquarium was super fantastic. I was super impressed by the design of it. For a smaller footprint aquarium, it was super amazing. It is AZA accredited, and in case you don't know what that means, AZA accredited basically means a zoo or a place that is high standard. It's also the golden standard for zoos and aquariums, which means they have to have a good amount of space for them, and they have to have rules to follow and guidelines in order to accommodate the animals. This aquarium was really fun, and of course they had a nice shark tunnel there, because with the name Shark Reef would not be complete without their sharks. I remember they did have sand tiger sharks, because in case you're not familiar with my channel, sand tiger sharks are my favorite species of shark to see at aquariums, because they're just really beautiful animals, and I do love seeing them. So this aquarium was really, really fun. It was sort of the main reason for coming to this aquarium on this road trip when I was going through Nevada, this aquarium was basically the main reason for coming to Nevada on this road trip, and it's the only AZA facility in the state of Nevada. So after Nevada, my next state was Utah. So I drove for about 6 hours from Las Vegas all the way towards Salt Lake City. So on day 13 of my road trip, I went to a really nice zoo called Utah's Hogle Zoo. This is the only AZA accredited zoo in the state of Utah. This is sort of a medium or it's actually a very good size zoo. I was super blown away by the design of it. I was really impressed of it. I had so much fun on this road trip. I mean, at the zoo, I had a lot of fun at the zoo. It's really beautifully designed. It's about 42 acres wide, and I was super impressed by the design of it. I remember they had a train ride at the zoo, and I believe, and this zoo is actually in a valley, so as you're going through the zoo, you can kind of see all the different mountains around, and it was super beautiful. The weather was really beautiful that day. They had a beautiful variety of animals at the zoo, and it is ACA accredited. It's also one of the largest zoos in the Intermountain West, and it has about 800 animals there. So they do have white rhinos at the zoo. They do not have elephants, but at one point the zoo used to have their elephants, but the habitat for them is not suitable, and they had to remove their elephants to another facility because, like I said, depending on how many elephants a zoo has, they have to have enough space for every single one. But it was still a super fantastic zoo. I was so impressed by it, and it was really, really fun, and I did love my visit there. So I would highly recommend it if you are in the area of Utah, because this is the only AZA accredited zoo in the state of Utah, I think. So on the same day after I was done with the Hogle Zoo, this zoo actually has a lantern festival. This one is called Zoo Luminate, where the wild things glow. I did get to go to their lantern festival, and it was super amazing. All the lanterns were really well crafted, and the lights were super beautiful. And the zoo actually does close, and it then reopens at around 6:30 p.m. for their lantern festival. They sort of have this lantern festival during the springtime from March through May, because luckily at the time of my visit, since I was at the zoo at the end of May, I was able to check out their lantern festival, and I had so much fun at their lantern festival. I actually did 2 different walkthroughs, because the first time it was not completely dark, and I actually did show you some of the animals there, because there were a couple animals that were actually still out even during the lantern festival, and even their train ride was running, and I did get to go on their train ride again, because I rode the train twice, because first it was during the daytime, and the second time it was at night during the lantern festival. And the second walkthrough, it was when it was completely dark, and I get to show you all the lanterns again, but this time it was actually without my narration, because usually I know how I like to talk a lot during my videos. So on the second walkthrough, when it was dark, I decided to do it silently without my narration. So on day 14 of my road trip, which was the last day of my road trip, I was still in Utah that day, and the next day I went to the Loveland Living Planet Aquarium. This is located about a few miles south of Salt Lake City. It is in the suburbs. I actually did drove past it on the way to the hotel I was staying at in Utah for the zoo, because I did stay in the same hotel for 2 nights for both the zoo and the aquarium. So this aquarium was really, really fun. It is the only AZA accredited aquarium in the state of Utah. It was super fantastic, and like I said, it's a good sized facility, and this is a mostly indoor aquarium. Even though it was not raining at the time when I was there, I still went there anyway, because usually if there's a rainy day on my road trip, I would try to do an indoor attraction that day. It was not raining when I was at this aquarium, but you know, just giving you a prime example of what I usually do when it's raining on my road trips. What's really cool is that it did not rain at any of the places on this road trip. The weather was really, really beautiful, and this aquarium was super fun. It has really awesome tanks there, and I was super impressed with their shark tank that they had. So it was super fun, and I would highly recommend it. So that was my road trip through the Southwest. It was very, very fun. I enjoyed going through the desert, and even some of the mountains I went to in Utah were snow-capped. It was super fantastic. I had so much fun on it. Now, for my next road trip, which happened in August, this was a sort of a late summer road trip I went on. For this road trip, I went up towards the Northeast. I mostly headed up towards the New England area. So for my first stop on this road trip, I went to the Smithsonian's National Zoo in Washington, D.C. This was a very, very fun zoo. It is AZA accredited, and they have a gorgeous variety of animals at this zoo, and they had elephants. I remember the elephants at the zoo had a very decent amount of space for them. I really love this zoo a lot. I had lots of fun going here. It was really amazing. It was definitely well worth the visit. It is AZA accredited, and this is also the second zoo I went to this year that has giant pandas, because I was very glad I got to see the giant pandas, because like I said, there are only 2 zoos in the U.S. that currently still have their giant panda bears, because originally I think there was 4 that used to have them, but I think the other 2 had to send their pandas back to China. So that's cool how the Smithsonian's National Zoo got their pandas back, because like I said, at one point the zoos had to send their pandas back to China, but they managed to get them back. So that was really cool, getting to see the giant panda bears. This is one of the oldest zoos in the U.S. It opened in 1889, so it was a super fantastic zoo. I would highly recommend it if you're ever in the area of Washington, D.C. So this was a very, very fantastic zoo for me. So on the next day after the National Zoo, I drove for about 7 hours. I went all the way up towards the upper portion of New York, and on day 2 I went to the Utica Zoo. This is a smaller size zoo, but it was really, really fantastic. I was originally planning on coming to this zoo last year, sorry. I originally wanted to come to this zoo last year, but apparently there was some rainy weather that day, but luckily I managed to come to this zoo this year, and this time the weather was really nice and sunny, and there is a lot of incline at the zoo, so be sure you wear comfortable shoes for when you come here to this zoo, because there's lots of walking, and they also have this nice little area where you go into the woods. It has sort of a dirt trail that takes you to all the different animals in that area. I remember in that area I think they had wolves in that area. I think I got to see a Canada lynx in that area as well. It has a beautiful variety of animals, and I would highly recommend it if you are ever in the upper area of New York. So right after the Utica Zoo, my next state after that was New Hampshire. So I had about a 6-hour drive all the way from Utica to New Hampshire. The drive was really, really nice. I got to go past all the different mountains, and I also did go by a couple ski resorts which were not open, because since it was the summertime, there's no snow on the mountains. But like I said, some of the mountains, like the ones in Utah, had snow on top of them, but there was no snow on the top of the mountains when I was going through Vermont. So it was really, really beautiful. So day 3 of my road trip, the main reason why I was in New Hampshire was I got to go to this really nice place called the Living Shores Aquarium. This is a very small-sized aquarium, but it was still super fantastic. It's right next to a place called Storyland, or I believe that's what it's called, because since this aquarium is very, very tiny, it's probably not going to be worth your visit. But for me, it was very well worth the visit. visit. I was super impressed by the design of it. It was really fantastic. I believe they had some sharks there, but it was these smaller types of sharks. They had several touch pools there, and it was really, really nice. And just like with the Legoland place or the Sea Life Aquarium in California, since this place is right next to the Storyland, and if you are doing Storyland and Living Shores Aquarium on the same day, you do have to pay a combo admission where and if you're doing them on the same day, but I only paid one admission because I was mostly there just to show you the aquarium they had. So it was a super fun visit for me. So on the same day after the aquarium, because like I said, since it was a smaller sized aquarium, I still had a little more time that day. So the next attraction I went to that day was in Maine. And I got to go to a really fun place called Maine Wildlife Park. Now what's cool about this place is that I think it's a rescue facility, but all the habitats there are super amazing. This area is basically all wild Maine. They have lots of different animals that you can find in the state of Maine, and lots of them found around North America. Because at this place, you're not going to find any other animals like from Africa or Asia. Because you're not going to find any elephants. They don't have giraffes because it's all just animals from North America. I remember they had a moose at this place that was really, really cool. But the moose was actually all the way towards the back, but I still got to see it. They had an incredible variety of animals at this zoo. It was super, super fun, and I would highly recommend it if you are in this area of Maine, because when I was going through New England or through Vermont, I saw lots of signs that said to be on the lookout for moose, but I did not see any wild moose when I was driving in. Of course, it would not have been fun if I hit a moose with my car, but I did not see any wild moose while I was driving. But I did get to see the moose at the wildlife park, like I said, so I would highly recommend this place if you ever do come here, if you're in the state of Maine. So after I was done with Maine, because this was actually my first time in Maine, I forgot to mention that. So right after Maine, and I believe Maine, I think it's the largest state in New England. I could be wrong. I'm not 100% sure. So please correct me if I'm wrong. So after I was done with Maine, I went down towards my next state, which was Massachusetts. So on day 4, I went to the Franklin Park Zoo in Boston, Massachusetts. This zoo was really, really fun. I was really impressed by the design of this habitat. It is AZA accredited. They have very nice, widespread, and very spacious habitats, and I was really impressed with the design of this zoo. Actually, I think it took me a lot longer than I expected to go through the zoo. I was there for almost about 4 hours, so this zoo was really, really impressive, and it's sort of a medium or mid-sized zoo because it's actually way bigger than it looks on the map, because even though it does not look like a very huge zoo, once you start going through it, it's actually a lot bigger than it looks on the map. And they have this really awesome rainforest building that has all the different animals from the rainforest. I remember they had 2 pygmy hippos there, and they have a wonderful habitat for their gorillas, which was really cool. I was so impressed by the design of the gorilla habitat. It was really, really fun. The weather was super nice that day. It was nice and sunny. There was no signs of rain. And there's another cool thing about the zoo is that it also has a lantern festival. And after I was done with the zoo, I did go back to the zoo that evening to do a tour of their lantern festival they have. This one I think is from August through November, and luckily since I was at the zoo on the second week of August, I had time to check it out. This lantern festival was super beautiful. The lights were really beautiful, and all the lanterns were really nicely crafted. And this lantern festival also did have moving displays at it, which is really cool because Actually, I do remember the Lantern Festival at the zoo in Utah had moving displays, and this one was super amazing, and I think it's actually my favorite Lantern Festival I've been to so far. It was so beautiful. The weather was super nice that night. I was really impressed by the design of these beautifully crafted lanterns. So if you are at the zoo during either August or during the fall, because this zoo or this Lantern Festival goes from August from August to November, so it's sort of a festival they have throughout the end of summer and throughout the fall. So I had so much fun at this Lantern Festival. So day 5 of my summer road trip, I was still in Massachusetts that day. I was nearby Boston. So the next place I went to was the Stone Zoo. This is a sort of a smaller or mid-sized zoo. It is AZA accredited. It is actually affiliated with the Franklin Park Zoo. It actually has a logo that's very identical to the Franklin Park Zoo. So they are operated by Zoo New England, which is the company that operates the two zoos. The Stone Zoo, as far as it compares to the Franklin Park Zoo, it is slightly smaller than the Franklin Park Zoo, but it was really beautiful, and it does not have the exact same animals like the Franklin Park Zoo, because both zoos have different animals at them. The design of them are both equally beautiful. Stone Zoo was really, really great. I really loved my time there. I remember they had black bears there, and I got to see a really beautiful reindeer as well. So as far as the Stone Zoo and Franklin Park Zoo compared to each other, I kind of like the Franklin Park Zoo slightly better than the Stone Zoo. Even though I said I was an equal person, I still like the Stone Zoo, but I like the Franklin Park Zoo a little more, just because the Franklin Park Zoo has got the really cool Lantern Festival at it. So this zoo and Franklin Park Zoo were both equally cool. So after the Stone Zoo, my next day after that, I went towards Connecticut. So on day 6 of my road trip, I actually got to go to 2 different places that day. So my first attraction that day was the Maritime Aquarium at Norwalk. Now this was actually a very decent sized facility. This is a mostly indoor aquarium, but the only part of this aquarium that is not indoors is I think it was a lorikeet. Yeah, so the lorikeet aviary is the only part of the aquarium that's outdoors, and I did get to feed the lorikeets, because you actually do feed them nectar, I think, because that was the first time getting to feed a lorikeet before, so that was super fun. And the aquarium had harbor seals at them, and it even had a couple land mammals at this aquarium as well, because I think they had meerkats, which is something I don't see at a lot of aquariums, and mostly just at zoos. And they had a wonderful shark tank that was really, really fun. I enjoyed this place a lot, and I would highly recommend it if you are in this part of Connecticut. So the second attraction I went to after the Maritime Aquarium, like I said, I did go to 2 different places that day. So the next place I went to was the Mystic Aquarium. This aquarium is AZA accredited, and this aquarium was actually really fantastic. This is a mostly outdoor aquarium, but there are a couple areas of it that are inside. I originally wanted to do this on the next day after the Maritime Aquarium, but apparently the next day it was going to have some rain that day, and I didn't think it would be fun doing the aquarium on a rainy day, since it's a mostly outdoor aquarium. So if you ever do come to this aquarium, make sure you check the weather for when you come here, because it would probably not be very fun doing it on a rainy day. But there are a couple indoor areas of this aquarium, but for the most part it's outdoors, because I remember they had beluga whales. That was really cool, because this is the first aquarium in New England that actually has beluga whales, and I also got to see stellar sea lions there for the first time, because this is only one of 2 aquariums in the US to have stellar sea lions, because the other one that has stellar sea lions I have not been to before, but perhaps one day I'll be able to go there. And they even got to stick around for their sea lion show, because they do have California sea lions at this place as well. It was super fun. I would highly recommend this aquarium, and luckily, since I was at this aquarium on a weekday, I believe there was actually it was a little bit crowded that day, but luckily there wasn't too much people, and I did not have to rush through anything since I got to this aquarium late in the day, so I did not miss any areas of the aquarium, and I got to go to every single area of the aquarium, so I had lots of fun. That tour will probably not be out till most likely around the end of February, because even though I went to this zoo during the summertime, I don't always upload all my videos before the year is over, because sometimes, depending on how many zoos or how many places I went to in the year and how many videos there are, especially if there's a 2-part release, and how I like to upload my videos once a week, that usually backs it up. They usually get backed up a little, and I do occasionally sometimes have to upload them into the following year. I have uploaded videos before into the following year of January and February, because I have done it last year and the year before, so I do have a couple videos from my summer road trip and even the other places I went to that will be coming out throughout January and February, and also even through March as well, because this way, since around March is when I like to start doing my road trips, because that's when the weather is usually nice and warm. Around that time, once all the videos from this year are uploaded into the following year of March 2026, by then I will get caught up and then start the editing process of the videos for next year, and then eventually, once all the videos from this year are uploaded, I will start uploading all the videos for 2026. So just giving you a little quick heads up just in case you are not aware. So day 7 of my road trip, my next state was Rhode Island. This is, I think it is the smallest state in the Northeast. I'm not 100% sure if that's true or not, but anyway, since I was able to double up the 2 aquariums in Connecticut on the same day, the next place I went to was the Save the Base Hamilton Family Aquarium. This is a smaller footprint aquarium, but it was still super fantastic. This was kind of an unscheduled visit for me, because I didn't think I was going to have time for this aquarium, but luckily I had time to do it, so it was really, really fun. I enjoyed going through it, and I remember all the employees, they were very friendly and knowledgeable, so I had so much fun that day. This is an all-indoor aquarium, because like I said, the day I was here, it was sort of, I think, a drizzly day, so that's why, like I said, I always do my best to try and do an indoor attraction on a rainy day, because on some of my road trips I do occasionally get some rain, but I usually hope to have nice sunny weather on my road trips. So this aquarium was really, really fun. I would highly recommend it if you're ever in the area of Rhode Island. So after the aquarium on day 8, which was the last day of my road trip, my next attraction was in Massachusetts again, because as you know, in that part of the U.S. where Massachusetts and Rhode Island and Connecticut are basically all clustered together, and that makes up New England, because they're actually right below Maine. I think all the cities in that area are not too far apart from each other. So the next place I went to the Southwick Zoo. This zoo was really, really fantastic. It is located a couple miles south of Worcester in Mendon, Massachusetts. This is a very, very fantastic zoo. I was super impressed by it. This is the largest zoo in New England, and also I think the largest zoo in the state of Massachusetts. It was really, really fun. I enjoyed going through it a lot. There is lots of walking because it is 300 acres wide. So if you do come to the zoo, be prepared to walk because there is lots of walking at the zoo. And they also did have a sky safari at the zoo. I did get to go on their sky ride because I do love going on the sky rides at zoos because they get a nice, beautiful high view of all the different animals you go over. And they even have a tram train because it was sort of a trackless train ride, but it's made to resemble a train. So the train ride and the sky safari were super fun. I enjoyed them a lot because luckily the weather was nice and sunny that day. And another area of the zoo I loved was their deer forest. In that area, it has fallow deer that are actually free roaming, and I got to feed them because you are allowed to feed the fallow deer at the zoo. So that was super amazing. I was really impressed by the design of this zoo. I'm not sure if it's AZA or not, but it was really well worth the visit, and it was so much fun, and I was so impressed by the layout of this zoo, and I would highly recommend it if you're ever in this part of Massachusetts. So right after my summer road trip ended, which was really fun, I enjoyed that trip a lot. So normally I would try to do about 3 different road trips this year because usually I would do a miniature one in March and then 2 big ones, like one in May and another one during the summertime. But my road trip in August, I originally was supposed to do it for about 2 weeks, but on the first week or the second week, I can't remember which week it was, I had lots of stuff going on that week, so I had to cut my road trip short. So there are a couple other attractions that I had to remove from that road trip, but I am planning on heading back up to the Northeast next year, and at that point, that's when I'll most likely be able to go to the places I was unable to go to this year when I was in the Northeast. So I still had lots of fun on that road trip. It was really fantastic. And so anyway, my next road trip this year, I actually did a couple road trips this year because I think I did about 5 road trips. So the next one I did was in October, so this was around the spooky season of Halloween. I did make one single Halloween themed video this year, but this year I actually only made one, where I think last year I made 2, I think, but this year I only did 1. I actually uploaded it on a Thursday in October because even though I do like to upload my videos usually in an orderly fashion, I chose to upload it on a Thursday in October because I didn't think it would make sense to upload a Halloween themed video in like January or February. So that's the reason why I uploaded it on a Thursday, because I just thought it'd be weird if I uploaded a Halloween video in the following year. So anyway, on this road trip, I went up towards Tennessee. I visited Memphis, Nashville, and Chattanooga. So my first stop was in Memphis, and I actually did get to go to their Zoo Boo event that they have for the Halloween season, which is their Halloween event that they have. I have been to Zoo Boo before at the Houston Zoo, which is my hometown zoo. So this was my first time going to a Zoo Boo outside of Texas. So this place was really fun. I enjoyed their Halloween event. All the lights were beautiful, and they had beautiful decorations there that were super cool. I even got to see a couple of the animals that were out at night during Zoo Boo. So that was a very fun experience, and this was, like I said, this is the first time I went to a Zoo Boo event that was outside of Texas. So the next day, I was still in Memphis, and after I had done the Halloween event at the Memphis Zoo, I then did a tour of the Memphis Zoo during the daytime. So this was a very large zoo. It is AZA accredited, so there is lots of walking at the zoo, and It was so fantastic. I got to go on their train ride, and the train ride was even running during Zoo Boo, so I was really fortunate that I got to go on the train ride during Zoo Boo and even during the daytime during the actual zoo hours. And this is one of the zoos that actually had to send their giant pandas back to China since the pandas were on a 20-year loan. So eventually the pandas, or panda bears at the zoo, had to be sent back to China. But it was still a very fun zoo. They had African elephants at the zoo, and what I really love about the zoo, or the two parts of the zoo that I really enjoyed, was the Teton Trek. In that area you get to see grizzly bears, and also they got wolves, and they had elk in that area. I was really impressed with that area. I got to see 3 grizzly bears, and they had a fantastic habitat. They had a nice waterfall that runs into their habitat, and you go up on a nice boardwalk that gives you a great view of all the habitats. And the other area I love was the Northwest Passage. That area was so cool. They had polar bears in that area. You get to see California sea lions as well. That area of the zoo was super fantastic. I was so impressed by it. So I would definitely recommend this zoo if you come through Memphis or this part of Tennessee. So the next day after Memphis, on day 2, since the next stop was Nashville, and I went to the Nashville Zoo at Grassmere. This is another really good sized zoo. There is lots of walking. Even though on the map it does not look really big, it took me a lot longer than I expected for me to go through it. It was super fantastic. They had white rhinos. I remember the zoo had a really good amount of rhinos at this zoo, and I remember they had a train ride I got to go on, which was really fun. And this zoo does have a Halloween event, but unfortunately their Halloween event actually starts on the week after I was there, because I was here at the zoo on the 2nd week of October, and this one, their Halloween event does not start until, I believe, a week after I was just there. But I still had lots of fun at the zoo, and it was really well worth the visit. This is an AZA zoo, so I was really impressed with the design of this habitat. So the next day after I was done with Nashville, I was in Chattanooga that day, and I went to the Chattanooga Zoo at Warner Park. This was a smaller size zoo, but I still had lots of fun at the zoo. The weather was really beautiful that day. I remember they got chimpanzees at the zoo. It was so fantastic, and they had giraffes at the zoo. It was really fun. They had nice, beautiful weather that day, and this zoo also has a Halloween event, because when I was there I saw a lot of their Halloween decorations was up and ready. But like I said, like, the zoo actually does have a Halloween event, but apparently they actually did their Halloween event the night before I was at the zoo, so I had missed their Halloween event. But I still had lots of fun, and the only Halloween event I went to on this road trip was at the Memphis Zoo. But I still had plenty of fun on this road trip, so it was such a fun road trip for me. And this was the first road trip I've ever done in October, because I know most of the time I usually like to travel during spring and summer, because that's usually when the weather's really nice and warm, and I get a good chance of seeing all the animals out in their habitats. But luckily, when I was at the zoo in October, the weather was still really nice and warm, because it was really fun for me. So for my next road trip that happened during autumn, this was another mini road trip. So this happened at the end of November. So this was getting into the Christmas season, because Christmas is my all-time favorite holiday, and November is actually kind of my favorite time of year, because that's usually around when people start to get ready for Christmas. Because usually, because I know October is when everyone has all the creepy, spooky Halloween stuff, and then in November, everyone starts taking down their Halloween stuff, and then it goes from Halloween and into Christmas stuff. So Halloween, as you know, is about scaring or spooky stuff, and Christmas is about kindness and spreading joy and being with the ones you love. So this was the first time I've ever done a road trip in November. So for this road trip, I went back towards Tennessee again, and this time I actually went to some lantern festivals on this road trip, because usually every year I would try to make one single Christmas themed video to celebrate the holiday season, but this year I actually decided to do lantern festivals. But these lantern festivals were actually Christmas themed ones, since they happen around November, because that's usually getting into the Christmas season at that time. Because I actually uploaded a new lantern festival video throughout each Thursday in December, because like I said, it wouldn't make sense for me to upload a Christmas video in February or March. So anyway, I went back to the same areas as I did on my Tennessee road trip in October. So my first stop had me in Memphis, and the first lantern festival I went to was at the Memphis Zoo. This one is from November 14th through February 1st, and it was really awesome. I really enjoyed all the different lanterns, and another cool thing I like about lantern festivals is that they usually add a brand new lantern or a brand new display every single year. So that's always a real treat, how they add new stuff every year. So I can tell some of the lanterns and some of the displays at this festival look brand new. I had so much fun here. Luckily, the weather was not too cold or anything. I think it was in the mid-60s, but I did bring all of my sweater just in case, but luckily I did not have to wear it because it was not that cold. And even the train ride was running, so I was very lucky I got to go on the train ride. So I got to go on the train 3 times, because first it was during their Halloween event, then it was during the daytime at the zoo, and then again during their lantern festival. So this was a very fun festival for me. All the lanterns were so beautiful, and a lot of them were Christmas themed, since this starts at the end of around November. That's usually around in the Christmas season. So this was a very fun lantern festival for me. So day 2 of my late autumn road trip, I was in Tennessee, and the next lantern festival, since it was actually not until nighttime in the evening, the next place I actually got to go to a bonus attraction during the daytime. This one I went to is called Tennessee Safari Park. It is another drive-through safari. This was actually on the way towards Nashville, so I had plenty of time to check this out during the daytime. This safari does have a Christmas event called Christmas Under the Stars, but apparently since the safari park was not included into my plans, I did not have time to check out their Christmas event. But I still had lots of fun on this at the safari. The safari does have animal feeding, and I did get to feed the animals. The only downside to my visit is that apparently when I was there and I was feeding the camels, apparently the camels had stolen my bucket, and apparently I had spilled some food in my car. But things happen, and I do not blame the camel for stealing my food, because I'm sure he was hungry. But keep in mind, even though you do get to feed the animals at this safari, that doesn't mean they rely on guests all the time, because they are fed by the staff, and they have giraffes at the zoo, and there's 2 different areas of the safari. They have a walk-through portion and a drive-through portion. I started off with the walk-through area of the safari. It was so fantastic. They had a beautiful variety of animals. I know in the walk-through portion they have all these goats, and they also, I think, had some different types of lemurs. So I would highly recommend this drive-through safari if you are ever in this area of Tennessee, because it's really fun. So right after that, the same day after the drive-through safari was complete, I then went to my next lantern festival, and the one I went to is called Zoolumination Festival of Lights. This one is at the Nashville Zoo, because I figured since I was unable to check out their Halloween event, I decided to check out their lantern festival. And when I was there in October, they actually were just getting their lanterns and all their lights ready to go for November, since October is about a month before they start, because in November, since that's the month after Halloween and also the month before Christmas, they were getting ready for their lantern festival when I was there in October. And when I went there, their festival was amazing. This is the largest lantern festival in the country. They had this really nice area called North Pole Village, where it has all the different Christmas themed stuff, and I remember they had all these beautiful Christmas trees and all these gorgeous lights and nice shimmering lights there, because that's one of the reasons why I love Christmas, besides being around the people I love, and also because of all the really beautiful lights. And also this lantern festival was fantastic. I did go on 2 different walkthroughs, because usually if I'm ever at a lantern festival, I would usually do 2 different walkthroughs, like I mentioned earlier with the other lantern festival I did in Utah, because I would usually do the first one, it's with my commentary, and sometimes it's not always completely dark the first time through, and the second time it's when either it's completely dark and also it is without my amazing commentary, just in case there are some of you out there that want to enjoy the festival silently and without hearing a word from me. So this lantern festival was really cool, and I absolutely loved it. And what's really cool about this lantern festival is that it is the first lantern festival I've been to that has an ice rink, because when I was there they had an ice rink at this festival, because that was really cool, because I've never been to a lantern festival with an ice rink at it where people can go ice skating. But I did not go ice skating at this festival, but I did give you a brief look at it just in case you are interested. So the next day, or next night rather, because I was doing lantern festival, so the next place I went to was Chattanooga, and I went to Asian Lantern Festival Forest of Fantasy. This was the lantern festival they have at the Chattanooga Zoo, and since it was a smaller zoo, this was sort of a smaller lantern festival, but I really enjoyed it a lot. They had really beautifully crafted lanterns, and a lot of them were Christmas themed, and some of them were basically just mystical creatures, because I remember there was a dragon lanterns, and some of them were made out of hard glass, and the way these lanterns were crafted, it was just amazing, and I was so impressed by the design. And I even got to see a couple animals during the festival, because I remember that I could see their red panda, because that's always a real treat for me for when I get to see some of the animals during a lantern festival, even when it's dark and not during the daytime. So I really enjoyed this festival a lot, and I would highly recommend it if you are ever in Chattanooga during the holiday season. So day 4 of my late autumn road trip, because I actually went to all 3 of the lantern festivals I planned to go to. So the next place I went to, I drove north towards the Smoky Mountains towards Gatlinburg. I've never been to Gatlinburg before, so this is my first time there. And I went to the Ripley's Aquarium of the Smokies. So this was a very fun aquarium, because this is up in the Smoky Mountains, and the Smoky Mountains, as you know, does have black bears. I did not see any wild black bears when I was in the Smoky Mountains, but it would have been really interesting if I got to see one. So anyway, the aquarium was really fun. There's actually a couple different Ripley's Aquarium locations in the country, I think, because this one I went to is in the Smoky Mountains. There's actually 2 different levels at this aquarium, because there's the upper level and also the lower level. And what's cool about this aquarium is that it's a one-way path aquarium, so you don't have to zigzag or worry about backtracking or anything. So luckily it's just a one-way path aquarium, and it's a very good size facility. And luckily there was not too many people at this aquarium because it was Thanksgiving break during my visit, because usually sometimes when I'm at a zoo or at an aquarium, I usually have to wait my turn for when I'm at a habitat until I can film it. 'Cause this way I can give other people a chance to film or a chance to see them, and also a chance for me to film the animals. So luckily there was not too many people at this aquarium, so I had lots of fun. They had this really nice cool area called Dragons, and that area or section, they do not have Komodo dragons, but I do remember they had all sorts of cool different lizards there. And that's actually the newest area of the aquarium that just opened. I don't know for sure when it opened, but I do know it's a brand new area of the aquarium that just recently opened. So I had so much fun at this aquarium, and this was the last location of this road trip, and I had about a 15-hour drive back home, and luckily I made it home safely despite all the heavy traffic, because it was Thanksgiving break, and usually at that time that's when people are going out of town to visit their families or sometimes for vacation. That's usually when there's usually lots of traffic on the roads, but I still made it back home safely, and I had lots of fun on this road trip. So about a couple weeks after I was done with my road trip around December, I actually went to another lantern festival. This one was at the Houston Botanical Gardens. It's called Radiant Nature, See the Garden Glow. So Radiant Nature was a very fun festival for me because this is located in my hometown area near Houston, and I did do my 2 walkthroughs like I usually do, because even though it was dark the first time going through, I still did 2 different walkthroughs, because this way on the second walkthrough it was without my commentary. And this was a really beautiful lantern festival. There was nothing really Christmas themed at this lantern festival because it does go through the holiday season, so this is just a normal type of lantern festival I've been to, like the ones I've been to this year. So it was a super fun festival, and since this is at the Houston Botanical Gardens, it has a lot of plant-themed lanterns, a lot of cool lanterns that were really nicely lit up. It was sort of a windy night. I did wear my sweater with me, and even though this lantern festival is not at a zoo, because I know when I go to a lantern festival it's usually at a zoo, but this one was still really, really fantastic, and it did have a couple animal themed displays or animal themed lanterns, and it was so fantastic, and I would highly recommend it if you live here and it's during the holiday season. And this was also the last lantern festival tour I made for the holiday season, and also the last one I made for the year, because this is actually the lantern festival tour that I posted on Christmas Day, and this is the first time I've ever posted a video on Christmas Day, so I would recommend you watch it because it's a very, very cool video, and all the lanterns are really well crafted. So overall, this was a very fun year for me. I got to go to so many different places this year that were so cool. I was very lucky I got to go to all of these amazing zoos and aquariums this year. I hope you guys enjoyed my fresh content I had for you this year. This year was super, super fun. I'm really looking forward to 2026, and I have lots of great plans or places planned out for 2026, because like I said, I am planning on heading back up to the Northeast in 2026, because that's when I'm gonna try and get to all the other attractions that I couldn't get to this year because I had to cut my Northeast road trip short. And like I said, I do have several videos coming out throughout January and March, so I'm very excited excited for 2026. I had such a fun year. 2025 was really, really fun for me. Leave some comments down below of what was your favorite attraction that I went to this year, or if there's any suggestions you have, or any questions, or anything like that, or even criticisms, as long as you're not mean about it. I want to thank everybody for virtually coming along with me on all my road trips this year, and for commenting on all my tours, and for having the chance to subscribe to my channel. This year I have gained 1,000 subscribers during the summertime, and I'm hoping sometime in 2026 I will reach 2,000 subscribers. So I had so much fun this year. I have lots of plans for 2026, and if you'd like to know more about when my next road trip is coming up, I do recommend you look at my posts. It used to be called Community, but YouTube has changed it to Posts. So just in case if I accidentally say Community, just go to the area of my channel that says Posts, and that way you'll know when my next road trip is happening or what's going on my channel. It's always important to look at my post. This way you'll know when my next road trip is coming up, because I believe my first road trip of 2026 is most likely going to be in March, because like I said, that's usually at the time when the weather begins to warm up, and I do love going on my road trips at that time. And I will eventually post an itinerary on where I'm going to go to on that road trip. So I want to thank everybody for supporting my channel this year. Thank you so much for watching this video. Happy New Year, and I will see you again next time. Bye.